The space station was huge. It floated in the darkness between two star systems far from any planet. The station was built for one purpose: peace talks. When different alien races could not agree on something, they came here to talk it out. Commander Zekthara stood in the main hall of the station. He was 8 feet tall and had 4 arms. His skin was covered in hard plates that looked like armor. The plates were black with silver lines running through them. His eyes were yellow and glowed in the dim light. He had fought in more battles than he could count. He had won every single one. The Valorian Empire had sent Zekthara to these peace talks. The Valorians were known across the galaxy as the best. Fighters, they were strong, fast, and had never lost a war. Other alien races feared them. Some races would give up their planets just to avoid fighting the Valorians. 3 days ago, a new race had arrived at the station. They called themselves humans. They came from a small blue planet on the edge of the galaxy. Most aliens had never heard of them before. The humans looked very different from the other races at the station. They were small. The tallest human was only 6 feet tall. They had only 2 arms and 2 legs. Their skin was soft and had no natural armor. They had no claws, no fangs, no spikes. They looked weak. They looked like they could be broken easily. The peace talks were not going well. The humans wanted to join the Galactic Council. They wanted to trade with other races. They wanted to share their technology. But many of the alien races did not trust them. They thought the humans were hiding something. They thought the humans were dangerous. Zekthara did not understand why anyone would fear such weak creatures. He had seen many races in his lifetime. He had fought warriors from dozens of different planets. Some had natural weapons, some had thick armor, some were twice his size. But he had beaten them all. These humans looked like they would break if he touched them. The argument started on the 3rd day. The humans wanted to set up a trade route through Valorian space. The Valorians said no. The humans asked why. The Valorians said they did not trust the humans. The humans asked what they could do to prove they were trustworthy. That was when Zekthara stood up. He was tired of listening to the humans talk. He was tired of pretending they were equals. He decided to end this the Valorian way. "I challenge you to single combat," Zekthara said. His voice was deep and loud. It echoed through the hall. All the other aliens stopped talking. They turned to look at him. Single combat was an old tradition. When 2 races could not agree, they would choose their best warrior. The warriors would fight. The winner would decide the terms of the agreement. It was considered an honor to be chosen to fight. The human delegation looked at each other. They whispered among themselves. Zekthara could not hear what they were saying, but he could see the fear in their eyes. They knew they had no chance against him. The leader of the human delegation was a woman named Ambassador Lisa Carter. She was tall for a human, but still much shorter than Zekthara. She had gray hair and wore a simple blue uniform. She looked calm, but Zekthara could smell her fear. "We accept your challenge," Ambassador Carter said. Her voice was steady, but Zekthara could hear the slight shake in it. The other aliens in the hall began to murmur. Some of them laughed. The humans were going to fight the greatest Valorian warrior. It would be over in seconds. Some aliens started placing bets on how long the human would last. "Choose your champion," Zekthara said. He crossed his 4 arms and waited. The humans huddled together again. They talked in low voices. Zekthara expected them to choose their biggest human, or maybe their leader. But when they stepped apart, a small man walked forward. The man was not impressive. He was about 5 feet and 10 inches tall. He had brown hair and brown eyes. He wore simple green clothes that looked like a military uniform. He had no visible weapons. He looked like he weighed less than half what Zekthara weighed. "I am Staff Sergeant Jake Murphy," the man said. "I will fight for humanity." Zekthara stared at him. This was their champion, this small, weak-looking creature. Zekthara had fought alien warriors who were 12 feet tall and covered in spikes. He had defeated creatures that could crush metal with their bare hands. And now he was supposed to fight this tiny human. "Are you sure?" Zekthara asked. You may choose another champion if you wish. Jake looked up at him. The human showed no fear. His eyes were calm and steady. I am sure. The fight would take place in the station's combat arena. It was a large round room with high walls. The floor was made of a special metal that could withstand heavy weapons. Lights hung from the ceiling, making everything bright and clear. Aliens from all over the galaxy came to watch. They filled the seats around the arena. Some came to see the famous Valorian commander fight. Others came to see the humans get defeated. No one thought the fight would last very long. Zekthara walked to the center of the arena. He wore his battle armor, which was black and silver like his natural plates. The armor made him look even bigger and more dangerous. He had fought in this armor for 20 years. It had never failed him. Jake walked to the other side of the arena. He had not changed his clothes. He still wore his simple green uniform. He carried a small bag over his shoulder. He looked like he was going for a walk, not preparing for a fight to the death. The arena master, a tall alien with purple skin, stepped between them. This is a challenge of single combat, he announced. The rules are simple. Fight until one warrior cannot continue. The winner decides the terms of the peace treaty. The arena master gestured to a wall covered in weapons. There were laser swords, plasma cannons, energy shields, and dozens of other alien weapons. Some of the weapons were as tall as Jake. Others glowed with dangerous energy. You may choose your weapons, the arena master said. Zekthara walked to the wall. He chose 4 weapons, 1 for each hand. 2 were curved swords made of energy. They hummed and glowed blue. The other 2 were shorter blades that crackled with electricity. He had used these weapons many times before. They had never let him down. Jake walked to the weapon wall. He looked at all the advanced alien technology. Weapons that could cut through starship hulls. Shields that could stop tank rounds. Guns that could fire across miles. He studied them for a long moment, then he shook his head. I am good with what I brought, the crowd laughed. Some aliens made jokes in their own languages. The human had rejected all the advanced weapons. What could he possibly have that was better? Jake reached into his bag. He pulled out what looked like 2 short sticks connected by a chain. The sticks were made of wood and metal. The chain was simple steel. It looked like something from a museum. It looked like a toy compared to the energy weapons Zekthara carried. What is that? Zekthara asked. Nunchaku, Jake said simply. He held the weapon loosely in his hands. It is an old human weapon. The crowd laughed harder. Some aliens pointed at the primitive weapon. Others shook their heads in disbelief. The human had chosen wood and metal to fight against energy weapons. It was like bringing a stick to a laser fight. Zekthara felt almost insulted. Did the humans think so little of him that they would send a warrior with a toy weapon? Or were they just that stupid? You may still choose different weapons, Zekthara offered. He did not want to be accused of unfair victory. Jake spun the nunchaku in his hands. The weapon moved smoothly and quietly. This will do. The arena master raised his hand. Prepare for combat. Zekthara activated his energy weapons. They hummed to life, casting blue light across the arena floor. He had used these weapons to defeat the strongest warriors in the galaxy. Today, he would add humans to his list of victories. Jake stood quietly, holding his simple wooden weapon. He showed no fear, no worry, no doubt. He looked like he was exactly where he wanted to be. The arena master dropped his hand. Begin. The fight was about to start. In a few moments, everyone would see what happened when primitive human weapons met advanced Valorian technology. Most of the crowd expected it to be over very quickly. They were about to learn something important about humans. They were about to learn that looks could be very deceiving. The arena fell silent as the fight began. Zekthara held his 4 energy weapons ready. The blue glow from his swords lit up his face. He had fought this way hundreds of times before. 4 arms meant 4 different angles of attack. No 2-armed creature had ever been able to defend against him properly. Jake stood 20 feet away. He held his wooden nunchaku loosely in his right hand. The weapon hung down like it was not important. He did not look scared. He did not look worried. He looked like he was thinking about something else entirely. The crowd watched in complete silence. Even the aliens who had been laughing before were now quiet. There was something about the way Jake stood that made them pay attention. He was too calm, too relaxed. It was not natural for someone about to fight a Valorian commander. Zekthara decided to end this quickly. He did not want to drag out the fight against such a weak opponent. It would be embarrassing. He would make one fast attack and finish the human before anyone could say the fight was unfair. He moved forward with deadly speed. His forearms came up in a pattern he had practiced for years. The energy swords hummed as they cut through the air. 2 swords came from above, one from the left, one from the right. It was impossible to block all 4 attacks at once. The human would have to choose which sword to block, and the other 3 would finish him. Jake moved. The movement was so fast that half the crowd missed it. 1 second he was standing still, holding his simple wooden weapon. The next second he was spinning, and the nunchaku was moving so fast it became a blur. The first energy sword met the spinning wooden stick. Instead of cutting through the wood, the sword bounced off. The second sword met the metal chain. It also bounced away. The third and fourth swords hit the other wooden stick as it spun around. All 4 of Zekthara's weapons were pushed aside. Jake stepped to the side as Zekthara rushed past him. The human had not moved more than 3 feet, but he was now behind the Valorian commander. Zekthara stumbled and had to catch himself. The crowd gasped. No one had ever seen anything like this. A primitive wooden weapon had just blocked 4 energy swords at the same time. It should have been impossible. Zekthara turned around quickly. His yellow eyes were wide with surprise. How did you do that? Jake did not answer. He just stood there, spinning the nunchaku slowly in his hands. The weapon made a soft whooshing sound as it moved through the air. Zekthara attacked again. This time he was more careful. He used his reach advantage, keeping his distance while striking with his longer weapons. The energy swords reached out like deadly fingers, trying to touch the human from 6 feet away. Jake moved like water. He bent and twisted his body in ways that seemed impossible. When a sword came from above, he leaned to the side and it passed, inches from his head. When 2 swords came from different sides, he dropped down and they crossed above him. When the 4th sword came low, he jumped over it. The nunchaku never stopped moving. It spun around Jake's body like it was alive. Sometimes it moved in small circles. Sometimes it made big sweeping motions. It was never in the same place twice. And every time Zekthara tried to get close, the wooden weapon was there to push his swords away. The fight continued for 30 seconds, then a minute, then 2 minutes. The crowd was completely silent now. They had expected the human to be dead in the first few seconds. Instead, he was making the greatest Valorian warrior look clumsy. Zekthara was breathing hard. He had never fought anyone who moved like this. The human seemed to know where his attacks were coming from before he even made them. It was like fighting a ghost. Stand still and fight. Zekthara shouted. He was getting angry. This was not how the fight was supposed to go. Jake finally spoke. His voice was calm and quiet. I am fighting. The human moved forward for the first time. The nunchaku spun faster. One of the wooden sticks hit Zekthara's upper right arm. It was not a hard hit, but it hit exactly the right spot. Zekthara's grip on that energy sword loosened. The weapon fell to the ground. The crowd made a sound like a wave breaking. The human had just disarmed the Valorian commander. One of his 4 weapons was gone. Zekthara stepped back. He looked at his fallen weapon, then at Jake. You are stronger than you look. No, Jake said. I am exactly as strong as I look. I just know where to hit. The human attacked again. This time he moved forward in a straight line. The nunchaku spun in front of him like a shield. Zekthara tried to stop him with his 3 remaining weapons, but the wooden sticks seemed to be everywhere at once. Jake's left foot swept out and caught Zekthara's leg. The big alien stumbled. As he tried to catch his balance, Jake's nunchaku struck his lower left arm. Another energy sword clattered to the ground. Now Zekthara only had 2 weapons left. He was breathing much harder now. Sweat was running down his face. He had never been in a fight this long. Usually his opponents were defeated in the first few seconds. "This is impossible," Zekthara said. "You are too small, too weak. How are you doing this?" Jake stopped spinning his weapon. He held it still. For the first time since the fight began. Size is not everything. Speed is not everything. Strength is not everything. What matters is knowing how to use what you have. In the crowd, Ambassador Lisa Carter watched with a small smile on her face. She had tried to warn the other aliens about underestimating humans, but no one ever listened. They looked at human size and strength and thought they understood what humans were. They did not understand that humans came from a world where everything was trying to kill them. They did not understand that humans had been fighting each other for thousands of years. They did not understand that when you have no natural weapons, you learn to make everything into a weapon. The other aliens in the crowd were starting to whisper. Some of them were asking questions. How was this possible? How was a human with a wooden stick defeating a Valorian commander? What were they missing? A few of the smarter aliens were starting to realize something important. They were starting to realize that maybe they did not know as much about humans as they thought they did. Zekthara attacked again. But now he was tired and frustrated. His movements were not as smooth as before. His timing was off. Jake saw the opening immediately. The human moved like lightning. The nunchaku spun once around his body and then struck Zekthara's remaining weapons. Both energy swords were knocked out of his hands. They hit the arena floor and slid away. Zekthara stood in the center of the arena with no weapons. His 4 arms hung at his sides. He was breathing hard and sweating. He looked at Jake, who was still holding his simple wooden weapon. "You have no weapons left," Jake said. "Do you want to continue?" Zekthara looked around the arena. His weapons were scattered on the floor. The human had disarmed him completely. He had never been disarmed before. He had never even come close to losing a fight. "How?" he asked. "How? Did you learn to fight like this?" Jake lowered his nunchaku. "My people have been fighting for a very long time. We had to learn to be good at it. We had no choice." "But you are so small," Zekthara said. "So weak." "We are not weak," Jake said. "We are just different. We do not have 4 arms like you. We do not have natural armor. We do not have claws or fangs, so we had to learn other ways to fight." Jake walked over to where one of the energy swords had fallen. He picked it up and looked at it. "This is a good weapon. Very advanced, very powerful, but it is just a tool. The real weapon is the person holding it." He tossed the energy sword back to Zekthara. "A weapon is only as good as the warrior who uses it. It does not matter if it is made of energy or wood. What matters is the skill of the person holding it." Zekthara caught the weapon but did not activate it. He stared at Jake with new understanding. "You have been holding back." "Yes," Jake said simply. "Why?" "Because this is not a fight to the death. This is a demonstration. I'm showing you that humans are not as weak as you think. But I am not trying to kill you." Zekthara looked at his other weapons on the ground. He could pick them up. He could continue the fight. But he was beginning to understand that it would not matter. The human had been playing with him. If Jake had wanted to hurt him, he could have done it already. "What happens now?" Zekthara asked. Jake spun his nunchaku once more and then put it away. "Now we talk. That is why we came here. To talk, not to fight." The crowd was completely silent. They had just watched something that should not have been possible. A small human with a wooden weapon had defeated the greatest warrior in the Valorian Empire. And he had done it without even trying his hardest. Some of the aliens were starting to ask themselves uncomfortable questions. If this one human could defeat Zekthara so easily, what could a whole army of humans do? What other surprises did this species have? Ambassador Carter stood up in the diplomatic section. "I think we can continue our peace talks now," she said. Her voice carried clearly across the silent arena. Zekthara looked at her, then at Jake. then at the crowd of aliens who were all staring at him. For the first time in his life, he felt small. "Yes," he said quietly. "I think we should talk." The arena stayed quiet for a long moment. Zekthara stood in the center looking at his scattered weapons. Jake had put away his nunchaku and was waiting calmly. The thousands of aliens in the crowd were all thinking the same thing. What had they just seen? Ambassador Carter walked down from the diplomatic section. She moved slowly, letting everyone watch her. She knew this was an important moment. The whole galaxy was about to learn something new about humans. "The combat is over," she announced. "Staff Sergeant Murphy has won the challenge." Some aliens in the crowd started to argue. They said the fight was not fair. They said humans must have cheated somehow. They said it was impossible for such a small creature to defeat a Valorian commander, but the smart aliens were quiet. They were remembering everything they had just seen. A human with a wooden weapon had made the greatest warrior in the galaxy look like a child playing with toys. Zekthara picked up his energy swords from the arena floor. He held them in his 4 hands, but he did not turn them on. He looked at Jake with new eyes. "I have fought warriors from 50 different worlds. I have never seen anything like what you just did." Jake nodded. "You are a good fighter. Very strong. Very fast. But you fight like your people have always fought. You use your natural advantages, your 4 arms, your size, your strength." "Yes," Zekthara said. "That is how warriors fight." "That is how your warriors fight," Jake corrected. "But not how human warriors fight. We do not have 4 arms. We do not have natural armor. We do not have claws or fangs. So we had to learn different ways." An alien from the crowd called out. It was a tall, thin creature with blue skin and 6 eyes. "What ways? What did you learn?" Jake looked up at the crowd. He could see hundreds of different species watching him. Some looked curious. Some looked afraid. Some looked angry. "We learned to study our enemies. We learned to find their weak points. We learned to use their strength against them." "But how?" asked another alien. This one was short and round with thick gray skin. "How do you learn such things?" "Practice," Jake said simply. "Lots of practice." Ambassador Carter stepped forward. "Perhaps I should explain. You all think humans are new to war. You think we are peaceful because we want to join your council and make trade agreements, but that is not true." She walked to the center of the arena, next to Jake and Zekthara. "Humans have been fighting wars for thousands of years. We have fought each other with sticks and stones. We have fought each other with swords and arrows. We have fought each other with guns and bombs. We have fought each other with every weapon we could make." The crowd was listening carefully now. This was news to them. They had thought humans were a young species who had just learned to travel between stars. "Every human learns to fight," Carter continued. "Not because we want to fight, but because we have to. Our world is dangerous. Our animals are dangerous. Our weather is dangerous. Even our plants are dangerous. To survive on Earth, you must learn to fight." A voice from the crowd called out, "But you are so small." "So weak," Jake smiled. "We are not weak. We are just different. Watch." He took out his nunchaku again, but this time he did not spin it fast. He moved it slowly so everyone could see. "This weapon is very old. Humans have been using weapons like this for hundreds of years. It is simple. Just wood and metal and a chain, but in the right hands it can defeat any enemy." He spun the weapon once around his body. "The secret is not in the weapon. The secret is in knowing how to use it. And knowing how to use it comes from training, years and years of training." Zekthara was listening carefully. "How long did you train?" "I started learning to fight when I was 6 years old," Jake said. "That was 24 years ago. I have been training every day since then." The crowd gasped. 30 years of training. Most aliens learned to fight for a few years and then stopped. They thought their natural advantages were enough, but why? Asked the blue-skinned alien. "Why train so long?" Jake looked at him. "Because on Earth, if you do not know how to fight, you die. Our world made us learn. It gave us no choice." Ambassador Carter nodded. Earth is what we call a death world. The gravity is stronger than most planets. The weather changes quickly and can kill you. The animals are all predators. The plants have poison. Even the air can be dangerous in some places. She paused and looked around the arena. Humans did not choose to become warriors. We were forced to become warriors. For thousands of years, only the strongest and smartest humans survived. Only the ones who could fight lived long enough to have children. This made us what we are. Today, an alien near the front of the crowd stood up. It was covered in scales and had long claws. But you said you want peace. You said you want to trade with us. Why should we trust warriors? Jake answered before Carter could speak. Because we know the cost of war. We have fought so many wars that we are tired of fighting. We want peace because we understand what war really means. We want to trade because we know that trading is better than fighting. And because we are very good at war, Carter added quietly, we do not want to fight you. But if you force us to fight, you will lose. The arena fell silent again. This was a threat, but it was delivered so calmly that it was even more frightening. The humans were not boasting. They were not trying to scare anyone. They were just, telling the truth. Zekthara looked at his weapons again. He had been so proud of them. They were the best weapons the Valorian Empire could make. But Jake had defeated them with a piece of wood and metal that looked like it came from a museum. What other weapons do humans have? He asked. Jake smiled. Every human is a weapon. We do not need to carry weapons because we are weapons. Our hands can be weapons. Our feet can be weapons. Our whole body can be a weapon. Show us, said an alien from the crowd. Jake looked at Ambassador Carter. She nodded. Jake walked over to one of the energy swords that was still on the ground. He picked it up and looked at it. This is a good weapon, he said. Very sharp, very powerful, but it has weaknesses. He held the sword up so everyone could see it. It is too long for close fighting. It is too heavy for fast movements. It makes noise and light so your enemy can see it coming, and it needs power to work. Jake turned off the energy sword. It became just a metal handle. Without power, it is just a stick. A human weapon does not need power. It works anywhere, anytime. He put the sword down and faced the crowd. But the biggest weakness is not in the weapon. It is in the fighter. This weapon makes you think you are invincible. It makes you lazy. You do not learn to fight properly because you think the weapon will save you. Jake looked directly at Zekthara. You are a good warrior, but you depend too much on your weapons and your natural advantages. You never learned to fight without them. And you did, Zekthara said. It was not a question. Yes, every human child learns to fight without weapons first. We learn to use our hands, our feet, our whole body. Only after we master fighting without weapons do we learn to use weapons. This way, we are never helpless. Ambassador Carter stepped forward again. This is why we want to join your council. Not because we are weak and need protection, but because we are strong and want to use our strength to help others. She looked around the arena at all the different alien species. We know that war is terrible. We know that peace is better. We want to share what we have learned. We want to teach others how to defend themselves. We want to work together to make the galaxy safer for everyone. An old alien with silver skin and 4 legs spoke from the crowd. What if we do not want to learn your ways? What if we prefer our own methods? That is your choice, Carter said. We will not force anyone to learn from us. But we will not let anyone force us to change either. We are what we are. We will defend ourselves if we must. The old alien was quiet for a moment. Then he asked, what if someone attacks you? What if someone tries to conquer your world? Jake answered. Then they will learn what we learned today. They will find out that humans are not as weak as they look. They will discover that picking a fight with us is a very bad idea. The crowd was thinking about this. They were starting to understand that the galaxy had changed. A new species had arrived, and this species was unlike anything they had seen before. Zekthara finally spoke. I challenged you to single combat. You won, By the old laws, you can now make demands of my people. What do you want from the Valorian Empire? Jake looked at him with respect. I want nothing from your people. I want something for them. What? I want them to have peace. I want them to learn that there are other ways to solve problems besides fighting. I want them to discover that making friends is better than making enemies. Jake extended his hand toward Zekthara. I want to be your friend, not your enemy. Zekthara looked at the offered hand. In Valorian culture, this was a sign of respect between warriors. He reached out with one of his four hands and grasped Jake's hand. I accept your friendship, he said. And I will remember what I learned today. The crowd watched as the human and the Valorian shook hands. It was a moment that would be remembered for generations. The day the galaxy learned that humans were not what they seemed to be, the day everything changed. The handshake between Jake and Zekthara lasted only a few seconds, but everyone in the arena felt its importance. The greatest Valorian warrior had just accepted friendship from a human. This had never happened before, but not everyone was happy about what they had seen. A group of aliens near the back of the arena began to talk loudly among themselves. They were from a species called the Krell. The Krell had sharp teeth and thick armor. They were known for being aggressive and violent. The leader of the Krell group stood up. His name was War Chief Brutok. He was 9 feet tall and had spikes growing out of his shoulders. His voice was loud and angry. This proves nothing. One lucky fight does not make humans dangerous. The arena became quiet again. Everyone turned to look at Brutok. Jake and Zekthara also turned toward the angry alien. The Valorians have grown soft, Brutok continued. They have forgotten how to fight. This is why they lost to a weak human with a toy weapon. Zekthara's yellow eyes began to glow brighter. No one insulted the Valorian Empire in front of him. He started to move toward Brutok, but Jake put a hand on his arm. Let me handle this, Jake said quietly. Brutok laughed when he heard this. You think you can handle me, little human? I am twice the warrior that Valorian is. I have killed enemies with my bare hands. Jake looked up at the huge Krell warrior. Brutok was even bigger than Zekthara. His natural armor was thicker. His claws were longer and sharper. He looked like he could tear Jake apart without even trying. I do not want to fight you, Jake said. His voice was calm and respectful. Fighting should only happen when there is no other choice? There is no other choice? Brutok roared. You have insulted all warriors today with your tricks and lies. I challenge you to prove that humans are really as dangerous as you claim. Ambassador Carter stepped forward. War. Chief Brutok, this is not necessary. We have already demonstrated our capabilities. No. Brutok slammed his fist on the railing in front of him. The metal bent under the impact. You demonstrated tricks. Magic. I want to see real fighting. The other aliens in the crowd were watching carefully. Some of them were thinking the same thing as Brutok. Maybe the fight with Zekthara had been lucky. Maybe humans were not really as dangerous as they seemed. Jake sighed. He had hoped to avoid more fighting, but sometimes people would not listen to words. Sometimes they would only understand actions. Very well, Jake said. I accept your challenge. Brutok jumped down from the crowd section into the arena. When he landed, the floor shook. He was even more frightening up close. His armor looked like it could stop bullets. His claws looked like they could cut through steel. This time there will be no tricks. Brutok said. No wooden toys. We fight with real weapons or no weapons at all, Jake nodded. No weapons then? Just hand-to-hand combat. Brutok laughed again. Even better, I will crush you with my bare hands. Then everyone will see that humans are nothing special. The arena. Master returned to the center of the fighting area. He looked nervous. 2 fights in one day was unusual. And this fight looked like it might be much more violent than the first one. This is a challenge of single combat, the arena master announced. Hand-to-hand fighting only. No weapons allowed. Fight until one warrior cannot continue. Jake took off his uniform jacket. Under it, he wore a simple white shirt. He looked even smaller next to Brutok. The Krell warrior was not just taller, he was also much wider. His arms were as thick as Jake's whole body. "Last chance to run away, little human," Brutok said. "I do not want to hurt you too badly." Jake did some simple stretches. He moved his arms and legs to warm up his muscles. "I appreciate your concern, but I will be fine." The arena master raised his hand. "Prepare for combat." Brutok got into a fighting position. He held his clawed hands up and spread his feet apart. He looked like a mountain of armor and spikes. He had fought this way hundreds of times before. His strategy was simple. Use his size and strength to overpower his enemies quickly. Jake stood quietly. He did not take any special fighting position. He just stood like he was having a normal conversation. His hands hung loosely at his sides. He looked completely relaxed. "Begin." The arena master shouted. Brutok charged forward like an angry bull. His plan was to grab Jake and crush him before the human could use any tricks. He moved fast for such a big creature. His claws reached out to grab Jake's arms. Jake was not there. The human had moved to the side so quickly that Brutok's eyes could not follow him. 1 second Jake was in front of him, the next second he was gone. Brutok's claws grabbed nothing but air. Before Brutok could turn around, Jake struck him in the back of the knee. It was a precise hit that made Brutok's leg buckle. The big alien stumbled and almost fell. "Hold still," Brutok yelled. He turned around and swung his massive arm at Jake's head. Jake ducked under the swing. As Brutok's arm passed over him, Jake hit him in the ribs. Even through Brutok's thick armor, the punch had an effect. The Krell warrior grunted in pain. The crowd was amazed. Jake was so much smaller than Brutok, but he was making the big alien look slow and clumsy. It was like watching a mouse fight an elephant, and the mouse was winning. Brutok tried to grab Jake again. This time he used both arms, trying to trap the human between his claws. But Jake slipped between Brutok's arms like smoke. As he passed by, he hit Brutok in the stomach, then in the side, then in the back. Each hit was small, but they were all in exactly the right places. Jake was hitting nerve points and pressure points that most aliens did not even know they had. Each strike made Brutok a little slower, a little weaker. "Fight like a warrior." Brutok shouted, "Stop running and fight me." "I'm fighting you," Jake said. "This is how humans fight." Jake moved around Brutok in a circle. Every time the big alien tried to attack, Jake was somewhere else, and every time Jake moved, he hit Brutok again. The hits were adding up. Brutok was breathing harder now. His movements were getting slower. Ambassador Carter watched from the side of the arena. She had seen Jake fight before, but it never stopped being impressive. Jake had trained in many different fighting styles. He knew how to fight big opponents, small opponents, fast opponents, and slow opponents. He studied every enemy and found their weaknesses. Brutok's weakness was his size. He was strong and tough, but he was also slow and clumsy. Jake was using that against him. "Stand still and let me hit you," Brutok yelled. He was getting frustrated and angry. "No," Jake said simply. "That would be stupid," Brutok charged again. This time he tried to corner Jake against the arena wall. He thought if he could trap the human, he could finally grab him. But Jake ran up the wall for 3 steps, then flipped over Brutok's head. He landed behind the big alien and hit him in the back of the neck. This hit was harder than the others. Brutok's vision went blurry for a moment. He shook his head and turned around, but Jake was already moving again. The fight continued for several more minutes. Brutok kept trying to use his strength and size. Jake kept using his speed and skill. But slowly, Brutok was getting weaker. Jake's precise hits were taking their toll. Finally, Brutok made a desperate move. He jumped high in the air, trying to land on top of Jake and crush him with his weight. But Jake rolled to the side. When Brutok landed hard on the arena floor, Jake was ready. The human grabbed Brutok's arm and twisted it behind his back. Then he swept Brutok's legs and brought the big alien crashing down. Before Brutok could get up, Jake had him in a hold that he could not break. "Do you give up?" Jake asked. Brutok struggled for a moment, but he could not move. Jake had him pinned perfectly. The human was much smaller, but he had all the leverage. Brutok could not use his strength from this position. I give up, Brutok said finally. His voice was quiet and ashamed. Jake released him immediately and stepped back. Brutok slowly got to his feet. He looked around the arena at all the aliens watching him. The greatest Krell warrior had just been defeated by a human who was less than half his size. How? Brutok asked. How did you do that? Jake helped brush the dust off Brutok's armor. Size and strength are not everything. You are very strong, much stronger than me. But strength without skill is just wasted energy. But I've been fighting for 30 years, Brutok said. And you have been fighting the same way for 30 years, Jake replied. You never learned to adapt. You never learned to change your strategy. You just used your natural advantages and hoped they would be enough. Jake looked up at the crowd of aliens. That is the difference between human fighting and alien fighting. You all have natural weapons and armor. You are bigger and stronger than us, so you learn to depend on those things. He paused and let his words sink in. But we had nothing to depend on except our minds. So we learned to think our way out of every problem. We learned to turn our enemy's strengths into weaknesses. Brutok nodded slowly. He was beginning to understand. You studied me during the fight. You learned how I moved. How I attacked. Yes, Jake said. Every enemy teaches you something if you pay attention. You taught me that you always attack in straight lines. You taught me that you get angry when things do not go your way. You taught me that you depend too much on your strength. And what did I learn from you? Brutok asked. Jake smiled. You learned that humans are not as weak as they look. And maybe you learned that there are better ways to solve problems than fighting. Brutok looked around the arena. The arena slowly emptied as the aliens returned to their ships and quarters. The fighting was over, but the talking had just begun. Groups of aliens gathered in the hallways, discussing what they had seen. The humans had changed everything in just one day. Jake sat in the medical bay of the space station. A robot doctor was checking his hands and arms. Fighting 2 large aliens in one day had been hard work, even for him. His knuckles were scraped and his shoulders were sore. You are in good health, the robot doctor said in its mechanical voice. No serious injuries detected. You should rest for a few hours. Thank you, Jake said. He was tired, but he was also satisfied. The fights had gone exactly as he had planned. No one had been seriously hurt, and the aliens had learned important lessons about humans. Ambassador Carter entered the medical bay. She looked pleased but also worried. How are you feeling? I am fine, Jake said. A little tired, but fine. How are the peace talks going? Carter sat down in a chair next to his bed. Much better than before. Amazing how much more reasonable everyone becomes after they see what humans can do. Jake smiled. Fear is not the best foundation for peace, but respect is. And sometimes you have to earn respect through strength before you can build peace through friendship. The Valorian Empire wants to sign a full alliance treaty, Carter said. They are offering us 3 star systems and complete trade rights throughout their territory. And the Krell? War Chief Brutok has asked for human military advisors to train his warriors. He says his people have been fighting the same way for 1,000 years, and it is time to learn new methods. Jake nodded. This was good news. The Krell were known as one of the most violent species in the galaxy. If they wanted to learn better ways to fight, it might lead to less war overall. What about the other species? Jake asked. Everyone wants to talk to us now. The Zentarians want to hire human bodyguards. The Klingari want to buy human weapons. The hegemony wants to set up an exchange program for their military academies. Carter paused and looked out the window at the stars. Jake, I think we might have started something big today. The whole galaxy is going to change because of what happened in that arena. Change is good, Jake said, as long as it is change for the better. 3 hours later, Jake woke up from his nap feeling much better. His body had healed quickly, as human bodies always did. He got dressed and walked to the diplomatic section of the station. The peace talks were still going on, but the atmosphere was completely different now. Before the fights, the aliens had been suspicious and hostile toward the humans. Now they were curious and respectful. Jake entered the main conference room just as Ambassador Carter was finishing her presentation about human technology and culture. The room was packed with representatives from dozens of different species. They were all listening carefully to every word she said. "Questions?" Carter asked when she finished speaking. Many hands and claws and tentacles went up. An alien with silver skin and large eyes spoke first. "Ambassador Carter, your species seems very advanced in the art of warfare. Do humans enjoy fighting?" Carter looked at Jake, who nodded for her to continue. "That is an excellent question. The answer is no, we do not enjoy fighting. We are good at fighting because we had to be. Our world forced us to learn these skills to survive." "But if you do not enjoy fighting, why are you so good at it?" asked another alien. Jake stepped forward to answer this question. "Because we take fighting seriously. We know that if we are not good at it, we die, so we study it, we practice it, we perfect it. Not because we want to use it, but because we need to be ready if we have to use it." A tall alien with blue skin raised his hand. "Staff Sergeant Murphy, during your fights today, you seem to know exactly what your opponents would do before they did it." "How is this possible?" "Practice and study," Jake said. "I have fought many different types of opponents. I have learned to read body language and movement patterns. Most fighters have habits and weaknesses. If you watch carefully, you can see them. Could you teach us these skills?" asked a short, round alien. "Yes," Jake said. "But learning to fight like a human takes many years. You must be patient and willing to work hard every day." Zekthara entered the conference room. He had changed out of his battle armor and was wearing simple diplomatic robes. He looked different without his weapons and armor, smaller, but somehow more impressive. "I have something to say," Zekthara announced. The room became quiet. "Today, I learned that strength is not just about size or natural weapons. I learned that the strongest warriors are those who never stop learning and growing." He looked at Jake with respect. "The humans have offered to teach us their fighting methods, but I think they have more to teach us than just how to fight. They can teach us how to think." War Chief Brutok entered the room behind Zekthara. The big Krell warrior also looked different. He moved more slowly and thoughtfully than before. "I agree with the Valorian commander. My people have been making the same mistakes for centuries. We need to learn new ways." An elderly alien with wrinkled skin and wise eyes stood up. "This is all very interesting, but I have a more important question. Humans, you have demonstrated that you are formidable warriors. You have shown that you can defeat much larger and stronger opponents. But what do you want from us?" The room became very quiet. This was the question everyone had been thinking, but no one had dared to ask. The humans were clearly more dangerous than anyone had imagined. What were their true intentions? Ambassador Carter stood up. "We want exactly what we said we wanted when we came here. We want to join the Galactic Council. We want to trade with other species. We want to learn from you and share what we have." "Learned, that is all?" the elderly alien asked. "That is all," Carter confirmed. "We did not come here to conquer anyone. We did not come here to start wars. We came here to make friends and build a better future for everyone." Jake stepped forward again. "Let me tell you something about humans. We have fought more wars than any other species in this galaxy. We have invented more ways to kill each other than anyone else. We have turned warfare into an art form." The room was very quiet now. This was not what they had expected to hear. "But do you know what all of that fighting taught us?" Jake continued. "It taught us that war is terrible. It taught us that peace is precious. It taught us that working together is always better than fighting each other." He looked around the room at all the different species. Every human learns to fight. But every human also learns that fighting should be the last option, not the first. We prefer to solve problems with words, not weapons. "What if someone attacks you?" asked a young alien near the back of the room. "Then we will defend ourselves," Jake said simply. "And we will win, but we will not attack first. We will not start wars, we will only finish them." Ambassador Carter nodded. Earth has been through many dark times. We have made many mistakes. We have learned from those mistakes. We want to help other species avoid making the same mistakes we made. An alien with tentacles instead of arms spoke up. How do we know you are telling the truth? How do we know you will not turn on us once you become powerful? You do not know, Carter admitted. You have to trust us, just as we have to trust you. Trust cannot be forced. It must be earned over time through actions, not words. Jake added, but I will tell you this. Any species that attacks humans or human allies will regret it. Not because we are evil or cruel, but because we are very good at defending ourselves. And our friends, the elderly alien stood up again. I believe I speak for many of us when I say that we have learned much today. We have learned that humans are not what they appear to be. We have learned that sometimes the most dangerous warriors are those who look the least dangerous. He paused and looked around the room. We have also learned that these dangerous warriors want to be our friends, not our enemies. I think this is very good news for the galaxy. There was a murmur of agreement from around the room. Many of the aliens were nodding their heads or making similar gestures in their own species' way. Therefore, the elderly alien continued, I propose that we vote to accept humanity into the Galactic Council immediately. All in favor? Hands, claws, tentacles, and other appendages went up all around the room. Jake counted quickly. It looked like every single alien representative was voting yes. Motion passed unanimously, the elderly alien announced. Welcome to the Galactic Council, humans. The room erupted in applause and cheers in dozens of different languages. Ambassador Carter smiled and shook hands with alien after alien. Jake stood to the side, watching quietly. Zekthera approached him. You changed everything today, human. The galaxy will never be the same. Good, Jake said. Change keeps things interesting. What will you do now? Zekthara asked. Jake smiled. Now I go home to Earth. I need to write a report about what happened here. And I need to start training more humans to work with alien species. I think we are going to be very busy in the future. And if there is trouble, if someone challenges humanity again, Jake's smile became slightly dangerous. Then they will face a human in combat. And they will wake up in the infirmary, Zekthara laughed. It was the first time anyone had ever heard a Valorian commander laugh. I will remember that warning. As the celebration continued around them, Jake looked out the window at the stars.